What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Q&A number 9. This Q&A is all about AI. This is the last Q&A of 2016, last video on my channel for 2016, and it's only appropriate to talk about AI. I think AI is going to be a big deal in 2017, not necessarily because of any advancements in AI specifically, but more so the impact of the just all the way up to the current advancements in AI right now. So a lot of questions on AI generally stem, initially at least, from the question of, is AI a threat to people in general? Okay, so first, this kind of like tiered down response to what we should think about AI and what the threats of AI are. Really, we have to kind of break it down into almost like a tree argument. So first of all, the question, is AI a threat? Obviously you can just say yes or no to this question. If you say no, the problem is we really just don't know with AI. So I think it's really hard to hold the stance that no, AI could not be a threat. We just don't understand AI. We don't know what's coming with AI. So you pretty much have to be in the camp of yes. Now, a lot of people are in yes because as humans we fear what we don't know. But we also, it's rightfully so. We really just don't know what AI will bring. So AI in the current sense, I mean, there's nothing to fear. But the fear is when we get to something like artificial general intelligence, which is like intelligence that's on par with a human. And then you've got artificial superintelligence, or ASI. And this is something that's beyond our intelligence. So these two things are kind of, I think that you've got AI right now, which is like weak AI, and you've got strong AI, which is like really truly intelligent AI. Because right now, kind of what we have is just brute forcing and fitting to problems that are, infinitely dimensional. But all we're doing is just fitting to infinitely dimensional problems, really, with AI today. So let's say your answer to the AI threat is no. Well, you're done here, I guess, but you're also probably just stupid. Is AI a threat? If your answer is yes, then we have to start thinking about, okay, well, what can we do about this threat of AI? So a lot of people don't know. We don't really know what we can do about it. But the naive approach is say, is there some way we could restrict AI or restrict the development of AI? Well, especially like maybe AGI, we could come up with some sort of system that would restrict the AGI, artificial general intelligence, so intelligence that's on par with a human. We could probably devise a system that would restrain an AGI. But could we devise a system that would restrain an ASI, an artificial superintelligence? I think it takes a little bit of hubris to think that we could somehow restrict ASI. So if and when ASI comes around, really that's just going to be kind of a crapshoot. Like, who knows? And to think that somehow we could restrict ASI, I think is probably a mistake. Or at least there's just no way it could happen. So then you've got place restrictions on AI use, as in people using AI, companies using AI, governments using AI, that kind of stuff. Well, the problem with this is AI is so powerful that everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to use AI. So if, say, the US government says, you guys, you can't use AI anymore. Well, the other countries are getting to use AI. So AI is still going to advance. And because it's so powerful, it would just be silly to try to restrict AI. Also, AI is an idea. It's just math. It's a lot like encryption, where countries will say XYZ encryption is bad. So asymmetrical encryption, for example, that's banned. You can't use it. Well, that's just law, right? Law doesn't stop you from using it. So, and if anything, all it does is stop, people who are willing to follow the law. It stops them from using it, but it doesn't stop a criminal from using it. So the same thing is true with AI. Is it really the greatest idea to basically have all the law-abiding citizens, the actual people who are a part of society, tell them, no, you cannot use AI, and then what's left is just the outliers, the criminals who would be working with AI, the people that don't care about the law. So I think that's a bad idea too. So restricting the use of AI for people and companies and governments is also probably a mistake, especially when it comes to something like artificial superintelligence, where it's like a winner-take-all scenario. The first person to reach artificial superintelligence is the victor. It's very hard to conceive of a way that one entity could reach artificial superintelligence, and if that entity didn't want anyone else to reach it, it's hard to see how anybody could avoid that situation. So again, coming back to the original question, is AI a threat? No. Well, you're stupid. Yes. Okay. Well, what could we do about it? Could we restrict it somehow? Either restrict its use or restrict the actual software itself somehow. So there are ways you can fool AI, but for the most part, probably not. Especially ASI, artificial superintelligence. We are not super intelligent, so how we would think about it's almost like consider the difference between like an ant and you. Okay, can you think of ways that ants might devise a way to thwart something you want to do? No, it's just you're just on a different level of intelligence. So to think that we could somehow restrict an artificial superintelligence, I think is just silly. And then also, I think it's just a bad idea to restrict it via law or something like that, or regulation. Now, the other option you have is pretty much the opposite of restriction, and that's to just decentralize it. Because really, while AI alone is a threat, I don't know how we can protect ourselves from that threat other than to make sure that not just one human or one small group or entity or country, organization, whatever, has that technology. So the best thing we can do is decentralize that technology through, I think, open software like TensorFlow, Theano, that kind of stuff. OpenAI is a great one. Just the decentralization of just knowledge, concepts, and lowering the barriers to entry to just working with this stuff. So I think that's it, because AI is really neither good nor evil inherently, and it's not even self-centered. It's none of those things. But humans, by just evolution, we are self-centered. We want to protect ourselves first and all this. So AI alone is likely not a threat, or it's just neither good nor evil, but it's probably a threat. but AI in the hands of a few is almost certainly a threat, in my opinion. So just some more examples here. I think it was Sam Harris that made the example of comparing an ant to a human, and where if as an ant walks along the pavement or something, you probably you'll take steps to avoid stepping on the ant. But if the ant is in your house, you're probably going to just exterminate it. That's your first choice, is let's just exterminate it. So in terms of an artificial superintelligence, it's probably not just going to one day just be let's just kill humans for fun. It's probably not going to do that. But if we're getting in the way of some sort of major objective of the artificial superintelligence, then it's conceivable that it would decide, let's just exterminate the humans. But at least for me, if ants were in my house and if I could communicate with those ants and tell them, hey, you need to go or I'm going to kill you, I would do that. I would try to give them an eviction notice, but I can't, because they can't communicate with me. But on the other hand, with larger animals like dogs, for example, we can't communicate perfectly with dogs, but we can teach dogs, we can train dogs, we can tell dogs and show dogs what we like and dislike. And I think that with an artificial superintelligence, that would possibly be possible. So it doesn't mean that an artificial superintelligence would deem it worthy to save the humans, but there you go. So at least for me, I think that's kind of how the argument kind of breaks down with AI and whether or not AI is a threat. And then there's this kind of this question that comes next, which is, how far away is AI? I think this one's hard. I think there's some believers in the whole singularity, like Ray Kurzweil. I can't get behind the idea of a singularity fully, because unless it was a mathematical breakthrough, it's possible with AI some sort of mathematical breakthrough happens or maybe a physical breakthrough with like components and hardware, which would probably still be a mathematical breakthrough. Maybe with that, we could see something like a singularity, but I just don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that, because the argument is like, basically, if we could make an artificial general intelligence, something as smart as a human, then because it's software, it can just be infinitely copied, right? Well, that's not really true. Like, let's say you come up with a great neural network that detects cats in video. What did you need for that? Well, you needed a big GPU. So, can you just infinitely scale your cat detector? No, because you need the hardware and you need the power. You need all these things to also be in balance. So the only way I think a singularity could occur, because like right now, today, an artificial general intelligence was created just by stacking a bunch of GPUs together. Well, it wouldn't be, in theory, it could be infinitely scalable, but in practice it would not be, because we would run out of power, both in hardware and actual power to power these things. So could you make, 7 billion of these AGIs? No, you wouldn't be able to scale it that fast. Also, the argument, because the argument goes, so even though I'm going to have to just raise my hand and disagree with the whole AGI infinite scaling as soon as AGI is created, if AGI, the argument is that with AGI you could scale it infinitely, it would be human intelligence, so it's the equivalent of all the humans possible, and if it's possible that we would ever create an ASI, then an infinitely scalable AGI could create the ASI. Okay. Sure, I guess, maybe. But that argument's also flawed, just simply because stacking of intelligence does not necessarily mean an increase of intelligence, right? So the stacking of intelligence, say you take one dog, you put a dog in a room, and then you take 5 dogs and put 5 dogs in a room. Is there really that much of a difference in intelligence? I mean, some social constructs might actually form, and there might be a slight change in dynamics. But overall, collectively, will the dogs reach a new peak intelligence? Probably not. What if we take 100,000 dogs, put 100,000 dogs in a room? Are we going to get like some new evolved doggo? I don't think so. Right? That just seems crazy. But for some reason, we think that, if we took AGI and we took 1 billion AGIs, or 10 billion, or 100 billion, somewhere along those lines, it'll produce an ASI. Maybe that will, but maybe not. Like, we really we don't know. So I think that's kind of a bad argument. And so, but that's what the whole singularity pretty much hinges on, is when we reach AGI, it will be infinitely duplicable. Anyway, it'll be infinitely scaled, and bam, just like that, overnight we'll have ASI. No. We just won't, unless it was like a mathematical breakthrough that on a current GPU you could have 1 billion AGIs or something like that. Then sure, you might see singularity, maybe, but still, even today, the intelligence that we have, these neural networks, they don't do anything. They just do kind of what we tell them. They don't really they don't think for themselves at all, and then they can do tasks like with reinforcement learning or something, but they're not going to come up with new and novel things without being guided to try to come up with new and novel things. So getting back to the question of how far away are we, really, it's unclear, right? It could be tomorrow, or it could be in 100 years, or it could be never, right? ASI might not actually be achievable at all. We really just don't know. But if it is achievable, we'll almost certainly reach it. Because again, going back to the whole, should we restrict AI? It just won't work, because AI progress is just simply going to happen. We are just going to simply continue improving on GPUs. It may not always be at the rate of Moore's Law, the whole double every 2 years. That's probably not going to continue forever, but maybe it will, or maybe it'll increase. So no matter what happens, it's going to keep continuing, and no matter how scared people are or whatever, it doesn't matter. Steps will continue to be taken. So instead, what we have to do is think about, what can we do to ease the blow? We can't stop ASI from deciding that humans are bad for the planet Earth and to just exterminate us. That really is never, you're just not going to outsmart ASI. So what can you do? I think again, as I said before, I think the whole decentralization, make sure it's not just one group that has artificial superintelligence, right? What stops a bad guy with ASI? A good guy with ASI. Anyway, let the fight begin. No. So there's that, but also even now, there's even larger threats that no one's talking about, or at least I don't see people talking about. Everyone's like arguing about how do we stop an ASI? Like that's a deep philosophical question, and anybody who claims they have the answer to that is just BS. You can't know, right? Because we have general intelligence. So using general intelligence to stop super intelligence, not going to happen. So on the chances that this goes smoothly, we instead have to think about what kind of transitions are we going to go through. And already today, we have serious problems that are coming. So the number one, I think it's either one of the largest or it's actually the largest, especially probably in the last year, it's the largest job in the United States is commercial driver. So it's truck driver, taxis, Uber driver, Lyft, whatever, all these things, commercial driver. But what's happening and what happened in 2016 and what's been leading up to 2016 is just self-driving cars. And Uber, Auto, all these companies are trying, Google of course, are making self-driving cars. I suppose Tesla, Apple's trying to get in the mix. Self-driving cars are coming. And commercial delivery has already taken place. I think it was Auto that did it. It's over. That battle's lost. So all these people that were doing commercial truck drivers have to go somewhere else. Now, I used to kind of always think like, well, big deal. This sort of transition has always occurred throughout history, where like one group of workers just simply transitioned to another career. But now it's getting hard because maybe you can, but I can't think of a single career that cannot be replaced by robotics and AI. I can't think of one, right? All of them could be replaced. Now, there might be a demand for human-made things, right? Man-made objects or man-made art or stuff like that. Kind of like made in the USA products versus if you're in the United States. That's a big deal to some people, but not everyone. Not everyone cares about that. And if people don't have money, they don't care. So I think like what the bigger question is, not worrying about how do we restrict something we can't fundamentally restrict. Instead, it's a question of, if this all goes well, what are we going to do with ourselves? Because all the jobs can be replaced. Every job can be replaced. And again, you could say, well, the government could restrict companies from automating cashier jobs or something like that. So at least at stores, people could work. But it would almost have to be the case that all countries did this or something. Okay, it's really, that's not an option. I don't think it's not a long-term solution to this problem. And so I think the real challenge is figuring out with companies like say Auto, for example, as Auto cuts all of these jobs for truck drivers, is Auto doing anything? And I'm not saying they have to. I'm not saying it's their job. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm just simply asking a question. Are they also simultaneously working to try to solve the problem of these displaced truck drivers? Because sure, they could go try to be a cashier at Walmart. Well, Walmart already has automated checkout lines. Could they stock shelves at Walmart? Well, Walmart doesn't do it yet. But Amazon's already stocking shelves automatically, and automatic shelf stocking that's old technology, right? That's coming. It's going to be cheaper. And as a company, is it fair to restrict a company and like say you must hire humans, right? I'm not sure that's fair either. And like I said, I'm not sure that Auto should be in charge of solving this problem, or other companies making self-driving cars, or any other automation technology. But if they aren't going to do it, who's going to do it? And if no one does it, then we will end up with a situation where like 5 companies rule the entire globe, basically, of services and jobs, and make all of the money, have all of the AI, and that's something you want to avoid. And how you avoid that problem, that to me is the main problem. The main problem is not how do we stop AI from killing us. It's not going to be the AI. I just don't think it's going to be AI that kills us or restricts us or enslaves us. It's going to be humans, right? The humans are the ones that are evil and self-centered and lust for power and all this kind of stuff. It's humans that do that. So an ASI may not even be possible, but what is possible is the automation of every job on this planet. That's what's possible. And that's what's happening already. It's already happening. And the question is, how are we going to handle that? How are we going to handle that transition? Because I don't know. I don't have the answer to that one. That's the good question.